Hello, this is Xuanyi Wang. In this presentation, I will introduce my third project. The topic of this project is Memorializing the Dead. Firstly, I will introduce the background of this project. Here are two key terms of this project. The first one is death. Death is an unavoidable topic. Everyone will experience the departure of relatives or close friends. The second key term is memories. Memories are objects to memorialize the extent of the dead. Different cultures have different attitudes towards dead, so there are also different ways of the memorize. So the background of this project is that the first one is the people's attitude towards death is becoming more and more open. Death is no longer just a sad topic. The second point is that because of the development of the technology, the forms of the memories also have changed with this development and of the culture, technology, and the society. Many new forms of memories have appeared, such as memorial websites, which exist on the internet in the data age. But here are some problems of the current ways of the memories. The first is that some traditional forms of the memories have a really big impact on the environment and the economic, such as the cemeteries' influence to the shortage of land resources, and also some really expensive cost for the people to afford to memorialize their decades. Another main problem is that the existing forms of the memories are too isolated or single for the living, and I'm start to consider about how can the living maintain the continual relationships with the dead. So the aim of this project is that because no matter in which country and cultural background, how can memories help better memorialize the dead and comfort living is always a topic to be discussed and explored. So in this project, I want to explore the better forms for the livings to memorialize their loved ones in their everyday life, and also can feel be better conformed. Here's the context of this project. Here I answered these questions. The first one is why is the design needed? Because I think it's an experience that everyone will experience the departure of the families of friends, so it is necessary to find a suitable way, a better way for the individuals to memorialize their loved ones. And the current forms of the memories are too single, and in fact they are not really convenient for the people to memorialize their loved ones in their life. And what's the specific issue or challenge that I can respond to? The first one is the forms of the existing memorial ways and space are not sustainable. So like the shortage of the land sources and the crowding of the urban space have always contradictions with the existing memorial forms. And the second is that there are distance and gaps between the existing memorial forms and the people's everyday life. More personalized and comfortable memorial forms need to be explored. Here's my personal motivation. Because I have experienced the departure of my relatives, my family members are burned in the cemeteries because of the long distance. I cannot visit them often, and I found that this way of memories is too far from my life. When I meet them, I can only see pictures of them and some objects they left for me. But this kind of help to ease my grief and better remember them is limited. Therefore, this experience started to make me think about whether there's a better way to memorializing the dead and comfort the living. Here's the issues this project will need to consider. The first is the economic issues, because the cost of the traditional burial, cremation, and funerals have become increasingly expensive in recent years. The second is social issues, because the development of the society, death is no longer a forbidden and sad topic, so more and more people want to find new ways to better memorialize their loved ones, and also more individuals want to be memorialized in a really special and personal way for them. So the common cemetery cannot satisfy them. Here's the cultural issues of this project, because Britain is a country with diverse religious beliefs. So people of different culture and religious backgrounds have different attitudes towards the dice. So the forms of the memorials is also different. And next is the ecological issues, because the current ways of the memorials, they have the conflicts with the environment resources, such as the shortage of the land, and also some kinds of memorials will cause the air pollution. So this is a problem we need to consider. Next is the issue of the technological. The first is that because with the development of the technology, more and more people can have diversified choices of the forms of the memory, such as they can create new objects and as memories in their daily life. And another development of the internet and the digital age changes the traditional forms of the cemetery. People can choose to set up their memorializing website online, and their family members can visit this online cemetery anytime. So it breaks the limitation of the real cemeteries in the real life. And here's the historical issues, because the cemeteries and other forms of memories all record the stories of generations and are valuable historical cultural materials. If there's no new means of recording and protection, we may lose the stories of generations buried in the cemetery due to gathering or urban expansion. So after the initial research, I have built a broad context and try to organize this in potential design directions in these aspects. And in the next stage, I will try do more research and try to find a specific direction to continue. This is the overview of this project. Here's the research I have conducted so far. For the secondary research, I have collected, read, and analyzed the related academic, media, and other sources. Secondly, I have researched on the individual experience on online communities. Next, I have researched on some design and artworks. For the primary research, I have observed and collected the related things to dive and memorials in London. And secondly, I have conducted personal investigation, and then I have conducted some online interviews. The potential outcome of this project is that I may explore and design a new form of personal and private memory in people's everyday life. Here is the stage of the research. The first research I have conducted is 20 things related to dice and memories. I have collected 20 things related to the dice and memories from internet, and also find them in my life in London. And I separate them into groups. The first group is related to the funerals and some rituals when a individual has gone. And the second group is the ways of memories people will conduct or try in their everyday life. And then I conduct this research of the article map. In this process, I collected articles related to this topic in a global view, and try to separate them in several groups. First is the personal memories. The second is the technological ways of the memories, and the digital ways of the memories. memories and their influence of the environment, and also the memories in different cultures and customs. And the last one is public memories. After this research, it helped me to build a context of my project and helped me to find a specific direction I want to explore in the next process. And here's the process of my project. At first, I start from a broad topic, the dice and the memorialize. Then I choose a more specific direction is the memories. And in this aspect, I found that it can be separated in two parts. The first is the personal memories, and the second is the public memories. And I chose personal memories in everyday life to continue. Firstly, I explored when people want to memorializing their loved ones. And I found there are two types of the aims. The first one is the remembering that the loved one has died. For this group of people, they think that when someone has died, the relationship between them will stop. So they prefer to memorialize the fact that their loved one has gone. The second type is remembering the loved one's life. For this group of people, their attitude is that they can acknowledge the concept of death and they can regard death as a natural part of life. For this group of people, they prefer to build the continuing relationship with the dead. Here are two modules of grief related to that two kinds of attitudes to the memorializing. The first is the 5 stages of grief. For this module, people will experience 5 stages of the grief, and finally they will go to the stage of the acceptance death of their loved ones. And when they get this stage, it means that they need to go to the end of the relationship between the living and the decades and continue to start new life. The second module is a continued bond. It's developed from the first module, but when at the stage of the acceptance, this module preferred to build a connection between the living and the dies. This continued connection can help the living better accept this fact and also comfort their sadness. For them, the dies won't mean the end of a relationship. Instead, they can find a new way to create new relationship and with their loved ones. Some research shows that the second types, this continued bond can better help to comfort the living and also memorialize the dead because they have a new relationship and the new bonds between them. And here are some continued bond cases in life. Next stage is the primary research. In this stage, firstly, I conduct the personal investigation because I have experienced the departure of my loved ones, my grandmother and my uncle. And for me, how the way I memorialize them is to keep the objects they left to me, and when I miss them, I will send the messages to them. Although I know they cannot receive it and also cannot reply to it, but it let me feel really comfortable because I think that there are still a kind of relationship between us. Here's a way of memorialize a public character, a doctor named Li Wenliang. He's a really good person who is like a hero in our mind. So people leave messages to him on his social account after he died. I think it's a really typical example of building a continued bonds to memorializing somebody. And the second primary research I have conducted is the interviews. I interviewed some people from the online communities about their attitude to the memorializing and how do they memorializing their loved ones in their life. Here's interview questions. And here's some information of this interviewees. I list their memorial method and also their attitude to dice. I collect and analyze the information they gave me, and I separate their ways of memorializing their loved ones in these ways, and also list their attitude to them. And I found that some people think that visiting the cemetery is not really helpful because for them it's not convenient enough to visit their loved ones in their everyday life, and they regard it as more as a family ritual, not their own ways to memorializing someone. But some people want to recall the memory, keep the memories of their loved ones. Some people want to communicate with the decades. And the most common ways of the memorializing someone is keep or view the decade's object. Through talking with them, I found that most of them want to build the continued bonds with their loved ones, but they also mentioned that if possible, they want to let the memories keep the people rely on it, so people will not really accept the death that their loved ones has gone. After this stage of the research, I have listed some possible design directions. Here I use the module of the black box. So the input is that livings and the decades needs. For them, most of them want to remember the died, create continued bonds, is grief, and feel a kind of interaction with which reflect the continuing relationship. But they don't want the living to be overly dependent on the memories, and they think these new forms of the memories should be convenient to use in everyday life. So for my potential design directions, I separate them in these specific directions. And here I also list some design works which may match these kinds of forms. Here's the research I have did on the design works and artworks, and I will keep continuing doing this research and updating the new works I think can inspire me or helpful to me. Here is the schedule of this project. Now we are at this stage, and in the following weeks, I need to explore design opportunities and do some experiment, test, and try to decide a certain form of my outcome. This is my presentation. Thank you for listening.